Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Pedicola, founder of Second Chance Secrets and Secrets of Life and Death. And I'm doing this recording again because I didn't know it, but it paused. There are so many things to keep track of these days in this virtual digital world. But here I am, and I'm going to talk today about what happens when you are disappointed with the reception your efforts have received. Maybe you bought a beautiful gift for somebody who you love or a family member and they didn't receive it very well. Or maybe you worked on a huge project. Hi, thank you for joining. You worked on a huge project. You put a lot of time and effort, maybe even money. And then the reaction was really disappointing. Like the people didn't like what you did. They had a lot of criticisms and you feel just awful. Or maybe you are trying to work as a life coach and you put on a whole big push to get more clients. Crickets. So you're feeling really discouraged. And all you want to do is go off into a cave and lick your wounds. It feels terrible. It feels like you're no good. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. And of course, the mind chatter goes in and says, oh, how, you can't do this. Who are you kidding? Why are you trying to even, nobody's going to love you. Nobody respects you. Nobody's ever going to respect you. And a lot of this comes from childhood training. I've noticed two patterns in my work as a psychotherapist, two patterns that I deal with a lot. And one of them is called the pleaser. I know this personally because I grew up as a pleaser. I know this well. And the pleaser is somebody who wants to feel loved, that wants acknowledgement and approval. And so when you go on a project like that, oftentimes you give all your power away to the other person. And so when you don't get the response that you're looking for, you feel like a failure. Here's secret number one. There are no failures, just feedback. Now the other pattern is the controller. This person came from a background that was unsafe. Maybe, hi, thank you for joining, felt abused or was abused, sexually abused, violence, unsafety. And so they want to keep everything safe. Now oftentimes these people, they figure out what works and they stay with what works. And when they get out of their box and they try something bigger and it fails, they can really be mad. And they can blame the people outside. Now the pleasers may also, what I call reject the rejecter, because they don't want to feel like they're bad themselves. So they see all these reasons why those people were not worthy. You know, that cast your pearls before swine. But I want you to take a whole different perspective. First, I want to talk about the three superpowers of human life so that you understand how to work with them. And then I'm going to give you help with both of these superpowers, maybe all three. So the three superpowers are here. You are this amazing being. You are. We are all amazing beings, all part of the cosmos. And we came into this three-dimensional plane and we inhabit these human bodies. So superpower number one is the human body. It's very powerful. It has a whole laboratory of chemicals, hormones, cortisol, to help keep you alive, to help you survive. But in a human being, it can get really wiggy. And it can make your life really miserable if you don't learn how to moderate it, if you don't learn how to work with your body. A lot of us, what we're taught is to just tamp our emotions down. Big mistake, because the emotions don't go away. Not to mention, well, we'll get to that in a minute, the mind is constantly dumping on the body about how terrible and worthless and awful you are. And so that gets re-triggered over and over again. This is what leads to stress, is the thoughts. The thoughts leave you in that position where you never resolve your big fear. And there are basically two big fears in life. One is dying. That's huge. In fact, I just read this study that was done on people's anxiety around fear, and when they're reminded of it, they either get more conservative or they get more humanitarian, depending on what their value structure is. So one is fear, the other is being alone. Being alone is really scary because we're social creatures. Humans are social, and we depend on each other to survive. And it's actually wired into our body. So there's that body again. We want to be loved and appreciated by other people. Sometimes it gets a little confusing when you've actually been abused by people, especially people that you were supposed to trust. That might create a certain amount of distrust in you, so that you have this sort of approach avoidance to people as well. But basically, the urge to connect is very powerful. It's as powerful as that fight, flee, freeze response. And it's all part of the same thing, because a lot of things you do in that urge to connect come out of that fight, flee mechanism. So for example, if you get rejected, what do? You want to go off and lick your wounds, right? That's flee. Or maybe you want to beat up on the people who didn't treat you well. That's fight. Or maybe you just get off and despair and drink a lot of alcohol or take drugs or whatever it is, and that's kind of freeze. That sort of clamps you, that shuts you down, and there's a little bit of self-soothing there. So those are the ways in which we can deal with things and learn to deal with things. Let's try another way of dealing with them. So the 3 superpowers are the body, the brain. So the brain is the second superpower, and it also developed a lot of its programming when you were young, when you were a child, about whether you were good enough or life or the world was safe. And you have these beliefs, and they get in the way of you succeeding. They get in the way of you stepping into who you really are. Well, go figure. In childhood, if you were who you were, you might not survive. So you learn to accommodate or adapt to your situation. But you're an adult now, and it's time to change. Except it's not so easy to change. It's not easy to change the thoughts, the beliefs that have been reinforced over and over and over again for years and years. And the body has these triggers. So you need to learn how to work with your triggers, learn how to calm your body. And that, in fact, is one of the tools that I shared last week. A week ago, Tuesday, I did a workshop called Body Speak, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and put that in the comments section if you want to listen to it. And I put a second one there too, because then I had realized that a lot of the people who were listening to me had health issues. So I put another Body Speak exercise for people who are having health issues. Okay, so back to the despair and being in the wound and licking your wounds and being in the cave and hunkering down. So you can stay there for a while. You might need to do that. In fact, I would say the body needs to release those emotions. You need to let that flow. But you need to not let the mind jump in there and beat you up over and over, so you cry and you never get out of that. You get stuck. And then you decide to give up and forget about your life purpose, and I'll just go back and have a stupid job and I'll be safe. That's not why we're here. We're here to have a human adventure. We're here to live, to fulfill our destiny, just like the seed of a tree. It has all the encoding to become a tree, and you have all the encoding, both biologically and spiritually, to become who you are meant to be. And when you resist it, you actually damage yourself. You need to step into that. But it's scary, and your body is going to do everything it can to discourage you, and your mind's going to jump in there and going to try and do that too. So you need to ask yourself, in this particular round of disappointment, how did you set yourself up to fail? Did you give your power away to the wrong people? This is often a very common way in which we set ourselves up to fail. But sometimes we don't know. We're just, casting it out. casting your pearls before swine. You have to take a moment to ask yourself, do I need to listen to this person? Do I need to give them the power, or are they actually giving me some important information that I need? They might be, even if they don't do it very nicely. Then the next question is, did I take on a project that was beyond me? Have I taken on too big a project bound to fail because I do not have the expertise or the skills to pull this off in a successful way? When I started my documentary film series, I had some experience in video, but I had never made a documentary. I gotta tell you, it was hysterical when I first started editing my stuff. I mean, I knew how to interview people, and I got some help with somebody to film it because I eventually realized I can't film and ask questions at the same time. I just can't do it. So I got some professional help. But then I spent a lot of money on getting an editor and a composer and somebody to sweeten the music in order, not the music, the sound, in order to create a decent product. And that's what made the difference. Otherwise, I had to develop all those skills on my own. And hello, how much time would that have taken? As it was, it took me years, like 8 years, to finish my first 2 documentaries because of money and things like that. But in order to have a successful project, I went the next level and I got the help I needed. And maybe you need help in going to your next level. So that's number 2. Let me see what number 3 was. I've forgotten here. Oh, okay, so this is a really important one. You may be afraid of changing. You may really be afraid of stepping out of the box. So you choose something in which you'll fail. So you'll say, see, I failed, so why bother? See, it's never going to work. The universe is against me. I never succeed. What I'm inviting you to do is shift your perspective. Shift the way in which you interpret this disappointment. There are no failures, there's only feedback. You have received feedback. You need to make an adjustment. It might be only a 2mm tweak. It doesn't mean you're no good. It doesn't mean you're worthless. That's your old programming telling you that. So how else can you look at this? Well, you can look at it as Alva Edison thought when he failed again in making a light bulb that worked. He said, oh, another way how not to make a light bulb. And sometimes, here's this is a little discouraging. Your life may not have the success that you want it to have, that maybe you're you're seeking acknowledgement or you're seeking money. That's not the most important thing in this human adventure. The most important thing in this human adventure is to live your soul's code, to live your purpose, to live your passion. Money, which is just another symbolic mechanism for convincing ourselves that we're loved, it's just another form of Facebook-like, is not what this life adventure is about. Your life adventure is about being yourself, being authentic, stepping into your true power, and sharing your gifts. So here's the other flip. It's not about getting approval out there. It's actually about service of those people out there. And when you start to think about it in terms of you serving others instead of having them like you, your perspective changes. It's like, okay, so they didn't like that. So that wasn't of service to them. So how can I step up and be more of service? And if I can't, maybe they're the wrong people. If I can't make a difference for them, maybe there are other people I can make a difference for. Or maybe I am working in an arena that's not a good fit for me. Is it part of my purpose? Is it part of what I need to do to make a difference in this world? So those are all questions that you need to ask yourself. Let me see if I have anything else to say. That's it. You want to take care of your body. You want to allow the body to have its emotional response to feeling rejected, because it's a real response. It's a human response. We're social beings, and if you've been rejected or gotten bad feedback, you're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel wounded, and it's real, and you need to release the emotions. Number 2, you got to change your thoughts. You got to stop thinking of it as proof that you're not good enough. You have to examine what it is you're doing and whether or not there was some way in which you set yourself up for disappointment. And then 3, you have to look at who the others are that are around you. 3 superpowers, others. Who are you trying to get help from? Who are you trying to get approval from? Do you need others to support you? Can you invest in the support that you need? If you want to learn more about these 3 superpowers and the practices I used to transform my life, there is a link to one of my blogs that you can read more about this information, and there's another video if you would like to look at it. Hope you enjoyed this. Be brilliant, and bye for now.